A young woman receives an old letter, one that arrived more than 3 years too late. But inside that letter is her own name, and a warning: do not open after sunset. She opens it without hesitation, and from that moment on, nothing around her is ever the same again. Who really wrote the letter? How did they know she would read it too late? And what exactly is waiting for her at the bridge at dawn? This mysterious story will pull you deep into the haunting secret of the letter that arrived too late. Don't blink, because every second after this might be the last message you ever hear. That morning, the letter arrived. Rain was still falling softly on the old tin roof of the wooden house. The smell of damp earth and rotting leaves drifted through the half-open window. c1t looked at the mailbox, trembling slightly in the wind. She had not received a letter in years. Her hand trembled as she opened the lid. A pale yellow envelope, with dried tear stains along the side. The sender's name made her heartbeat quicken. Anon. A name she had tried to forget for 5 whole years. She tore the envelope open slowly. The handwriting was painfully familiar. Some of the ink had faded, as if washed away by rain. Thunder rumbled outside, echoing the turmoil in her chest. She began to read line by line. c1t, if you are reading this letter, it means I am no longer in this world. Her hand froze. Her breath caught. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like it might burst. Images of their last day together flooded her mind. The day he walked away from the house saying, "Wait for me." But she never saw him again. She looked at the date in the corner of the paper. The 15th of July 2020. It was 3 years ago. Raindrops from the window splashed onto the letter. The words began to blur, like the memories she had tried to hold on to. She hurriedly turned the page. Her fingers trembling, the paper fragile and thin, as if it too carried the weight of loss. The next lines were written hastily, the strokes uneven and desperate. c1t, I wanted to tell you the truth before it was too late. Her eyes scanned the words, her lips moving unconsciously as she read them aloud. I never meant to leave that day. I thought I would return. But something happened on the road, something I cannot explain. Her vision blurred for a moment. Not from the rain, but from tears she did not realize had begun to fall. The words on the paper wavered like ripples in water. I found a small village after the car broke down, the letter continued. The people there were strange. Their eyes too calm, their smiles too still. Her heart began to race. Each line seemed heavier than the last, pulling her deeper into a truth she did not want to face. They told me I could not leave. That once I entered, I belonged to this place. They said the village needed a soul to replace the one it lost. c1t stepped back, nearly dropping the paper. Her breath came fast, the sound of rain outside now merging with the pounding in her ears. The house creaked as the wind swept through the cracks. A picture frame fell from the wall with a faint thud. She froze, the letter still open in her hand. She continued reading, her voice barely a whisper. I have written this letter every day for the past week, hoping someone will find it if I cannot send it myself. If you receive this, please, do not come looking for me. A chill ran through her spine. Her eyes darted toward the window, where the mist had begun to thicken. The world outside looked distant, blurred like a fading photograph. But if you ever find the road that leads to this village. The next line read, turn back immediately. She swallowed hard. Her fingers brushed over the final part of the letter, a series of words written in a hurried scrawl. The ink was darker there, as if pressed down with fear. Someone here knows you. They said your name before I did. They said you would come when the letter reached you. Do not let them find you, c1t. They said it is your turn now. The candle beside her flickered violently, and for a moment, she thought she saw a shadow move behind her. She turned sharply. Nothing. Only the sound of rain, and the faint rustle of the curtains. She looked down again. The ink was beginning to run where her tears fell. But one final line stood clear and untouched. I will wait for you by the bridge at dawn. c1t stared at the words until they no longer looked like words at all. Her mind screamed for logic, for reason, for any explanation other than the one that crept into her heart. That Anon had never truly left. And something had been waiting for her ever since. She folded the letter back into its envelope. as if hiding it could make it less real. But the paper felt warm, too warm, as if it had just been written. Then she noticed the faint smell of smoke. Not from the candle, it came from the paper itself. Her pulse quickened. She touched the edge of the envelope and flinched. It was hot. A faint whisper brushed past her ear. Soft, almost kind. You read it too late. She dropped the letter. It landed on the floor. The ink spreading like black veins across the wood. The rain outside grew louder. Or maybe it was footsteps. Slow, deliberate, approaching the porch. Her eyes darted toward the door. A shadow passed beneath the crack at the bottom. She wanted to move, to run, but her legs would not obey. Then, 3 knocks. Soft, measured, and then silence. The candle went out. The room plunged into darkness. Her breath echoed in her ears. Ragged and shallow, she could still see the faint outline of the envelope glowing faintly on the floor. As if lit from within. She reached for it. The warmth pulsed like a heartbeat under her fingertips. And then, another whisper, this time from the direction of the door. Come with me, Surin. The voice was unmistakable. Anand's. Her heart twisted in confusion and terror. She wanted to believe it was him. But something in the tone, something hollow, told her it was not. The knob of the old wooden door began to turn. Slowly, painfully, with a faint metallic creak that filled the silence. She backed away, her hand gripping the table behind her. Her eyes darted toward the letter again. The handwriting now shifting, the ink crawling across the paper like living vines. New words appeared where there had been none before. I told you not to read it after dark. Her pulse stopped. She turned toward the window, hoping for escape, but all she saw was her own reflection staring back. Except it was smiling. She stumbled backward, knocking over the chair. The reflection did not move. Its lips curved wider, and its eyes gleamed with something cold and empty. The letter began to burn. Flames licked across the page without heat, consuming the words, leaving behind only ash and silence. Then, the voice came again, closer this time, right beside her ear. You were supposed to come sooner. She gasped, spinning around, but there was no one there. Only the open door, swinging gently in the wind. And beyond it, the sound of rain hitting the wooden bridge down the path. The bridge. She froze. Anand's last words echoed in her mind. I will wait for you by the bridge at dawn. The storm outside was clearing now. The first light of morning brushed against the horizon. Something pulled at her, a strange calmness that numbed her fear. She stepped forward, barefoot. She walked through the wet grass, the cold earth sinking beneath her toes. The world was quiet, now, as if holding its breath. When she reached the bridge, she saw a figure standing there. Still, motionless, facing away from her. Her heart leapt into her throat. She whispered his name, Anand. The figure slowly turned. It was him. Same eyes, same gentle face, but his skin was pale. Too pale, and the corners of his lips were cracked like dry paper. I waited, he said softly. You took too long. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know. I just got your letter today. He stepped closer. His footsteps made no sound. You should not have read it. Her lips trembled. What happens now? He smiled faintly. Now, you write one. Before she could speak, the wind picked up, sending a flurry of mist across the bridge. When it cleared, the figure was gone. Only the letter remained, unburned, dry, and sealed once again. This time, her name was written on it in fresh ink. But underneath, in smaller letters, was another name. Next, Surin stood on the bridge long after the mist had cleared. The world was silent except for the soft murmur of the stream beneath her feet. The letter lay in her trembling hands. Its surface dry, its weight unnaturally heavy. She looked down at the name written below hers. The single word that made her stomach tighten. Next, it felt like a warning. Or perhaps, a curse waiting to continue. The wind brushed past her cheek, carrying the faint scent of smoke and rain. She thought she heard a whisper. Faint, like breath against her ear. Now you understand. Her eyes filled with tears. She wanted to tear the letter apart. To throw it into the water. To end whatever it was that had begun. But the moment she tried, her hands froze. The paper refused to tear. The ink shimmered faintly, alive, breathing. In that quiet, a realization began to form in her mind. The letter was never meant to reach her on time. It was meant to reach her when it chose to. It was a messenger, a bridge between the living and the lost. She turned slowly, looking back toward her home in the distance. The morning light touched the roof. And for the first time, the house looked unfamiliar, as if something inside it was waiting for her return. Her heartbeat slowed. She placed the letter carefully on the wooden railing of the bridge. The ink shimmered once more, and then the paper dissolved, vanishing into thin air like mist under sunlight. A soft sigh escaped her lips. It felt like a goodbye, but also a beginning. As she stepped off the bridge, she noticed something unusual in the wet grass. Another envelope, new, clean, untouched by rain. It bore no name, only one sentence written in delicate handwriting. Pass it on before the next dawn. She stood still, the morning breeze whispering through the trees. Then, slowly, she smiled, a small, sad smile, and walked toward the rising sun. The envelope pressed gently to her heart. Somewhere behind her, the stream whispered softly beneath the bridge. And if one listened closely, they might have heard two voices, blending into the sound of the water. One saying thank you, and the other, wait for me. End of story.